Hey everyone, it's your average chess player here. Today we are going to look at this endgame position. It is white's turn to play and we have to find the winning continuation for white. So go ahead, pause the video here and try to find the winning move for white. As usual, I'll leave the timestamps in the description so you could skip ahead to the solution part of the video if you want to know how this position is solved or if you want to verify your calculation. So go ahead, pause the video and try and solve this. I'm going to explain how I solved this position, nuances I noticed, and mistakes that I did on the way, and how I finally ended up with the right solution. So yeah, let's get right into it. What is the biggest problem for white in this position? The biggest problem would be that this black king is kind of too close to these white pawns. In fact, black just needs two moves to capture this pawn and then two moves later after that to capture this pawn. Whereas white king actually needs three moves to even get to either of these two pawns. So in a way, black's king is just faster even if you start moving your king. So just by that reasoning, you can actually eliminate all of the king moves in this position as candidate moves. There are only like 7 legal moves in this position for white, and 5 of them won't work. I'll tell you, like, let's just show you a sample variation. King c2, and then let's say black plays king c5 or king c4. I don't think it matters. King d2, black can now take this pawn, and then king e3, c5, go around, and then king takes c5, and this position is a draw. Like no matter what white does in middle of all this, let's like white tries to play something like d6 here, black can just take this, and then this is like black is going to catch up to this pawn, and you have to now come and kind of painfully defend an endgame for no reason. So just by the logic of 3 moves for the white king and 2 moves for black, despite white having to move first, that's enough to just eliminate all these moves. So which leaves us with just 2 other legal moves, which are our candidate moves now. So if you made it to this point in the video, pause the video again if you still want to solve it and haven't solved it yet. Go ahead and find which one of these 2 pawn moves actually work in this position. So pause the video and try to find it. I'm going to explain which move works here and how I found that move. So the move that works here is actually both. Both these moves actually work and are winning for white here. It's just that one of the moves is just wins slightly faster, and that is the move I found in this position. So the move that wins fastest in this position is d6, kind of forcing black to take here. The other move, like I said, f5 also wins. It's just slightly slower. The funny thing is I found d6 because I started with f5 because I didn't want to give up this pawn. And I'll tell you how I found it though. So I played f5. King c5 is a logical move to get to this pawn, but also kind of if you draw a square here, black's king is still within the square. So f6, black would want to get into the square again. And here I just paused. So I know that, I mean, we know that like if you play f7 here, this is just a draw. You can take this and black can now clean up this, and then we have to defend against this pawn. But what I also noticed here is this position also should be winning, mainly because black is just stuck. Black is in kind of in a zugzwang in a way, because black cannot take this pawn because f7 will queen. He cannot move this pawn, like whatever you play. I'm going to take that pawn, so that's not going to happen. So black is kind of stuck. It's a zugzwang, right? But the other thing to notice is that if you draw a square like this, which I showed you already, the black king is on the edge of the square on d6. If you go one move back, the black king wasn't there on d6, and we were ready to queen. So if something were to prevent black from getting into the square after f6, then we are winning. And how do we do that? Is to just force black's pawn into that square with d6 first. So now you are forced to take. If you play c6, I queen first, and I'm just completely winning. If you take this pawn, now I play f5. After king c5, f6, you can see this d6 square is taken away from the king, and it's no longer within my the square of the pawn, and you cannot stop me from queening. And even if you play d5, and you're just too late, and I'm winning. It's a nice way to find this. Having said that, I started with f5. So f5 is also winning. And like I said, this black king is stuck. So that is the first thing I noticed. But then I realized that, hey, if you can't even get into the square, I'm winning. But even this position is actually winning. We won't play f7, but we'll play king c2. And after king c2, from here, it's like a slightly longer grind. But you have to just keep maintaining opposition at all points. And once if you know the guidelines, it's just easier. Like this one, like you need to maintain an odd number of squares between the two kings, and it should be always black's turn to play. So you maintain indirect opposition. So if king d8, you play king d4, maintaining that. If it's king e8, you play king e4, maintaining it. If you play king d8 again, you don't have to go back, but you can play king f5 and start to get a bit closer. And the main reasoning here is that although black can play king d7 and put you in, like, get opposition directly with through the diagonal, but after king e5, both the squares that black can actually take opposition from us is blocked or taken away from by our pawn. So black is just lost here. Like, you can play c5. After this, we take and we queen the pawn. Whatever you do, we win. And if you go back here in this way, we can just play this, and then the next move we just kind of queen. So that's how f5 is also winning. But yeah, d6 just wins on the spot. What an endgame. It's quite simple. Once you understand what is the objective or what the problem we need to solve, we can immediately find the solution. So if you skipped ahead to this part of the video and just want to know the solution, or I'm going to tell you the solution. So d6 is the move. f5 is also another winning move, but I showed that variation in the later part of the video. But d6 is the move. After cd6, f5, king c5, f6, black's king cannot get into the square of this pawn because the d6 pawn is blocking, preventing access. And after f7, after d5, f7, we just queen, and then we win this endgame with just a queen and a king. It's an elementary endgame and can be easily won. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. I make videos on end games and middle games and all that. So yeah, catch you guys in the next one.